I'm sort of going to bring this all to what's going on in your house, in your community in Australia, and hopefully link it internationally. And I'm going to use the transformation, as they call it, in the energy industry, where we are dealing with social justice issues, social equity issues, and climate transition and change through decarbonising. We've been tracking energy tariffs for the last 10 years, and all the data here is open source online, and you can put your own bills in there and choose your own adventure if you like. But I'm going to give you some headline stuff, and hopefully this will sort of paint the picture that's going on out there, and it's not all what it seems, and things aren't that easy. So, painting a picture about, okay, energy is an essential service, who are the people that end up going without it? So we'll start at the disaster and then work back. Telling the story of Vinnie's, we hand out emergency relief and other supports. The people that are most likely to be disconnected are people with children. And the reason for that is the things that are least elastic are food. You've got to feed your kids. So you feed your kids first and you pay your bills last. And there's been lots of work done that by energy industry and everybody else. So it's not who you think it is, it's actually families and multiple people that are going off. We were also very privileged to get all the raw data from AGL over a 3-year period. They trust us, don't know why, but they did. They still do, because we want to do it again. And we went through the entrails. They said, rip it apart, tell us what we're doing and what we're not doing. And basically what we came to the conclusion at the end is that certain types of groups, certain sites or geographies, we geospatially mapped, all these maps are online, so you can click your own postcode and have a look. Basically what we found is income, obviously, housing costs and transport costs interplay in the utility story to create more than the trifecta, the quadrilla of cost pressure interplays. Interestingly, in Victoria, we've got smart meters. What we found in Victoria is that's a much more efficient way to switch people on and off. And there's certain communities like Werribee and Sunshine where there's lots of people are being disconnected 7-8 times in 3 years, on, off. So they're actually using disconnection way to avoid debt and debt collection, because the debt collectors do come after you, and managing their budget by going without an essential service. So that's technology and its impacts and efficiency and speed. Disconnection, so if you think where disconnections are clustered, if you like, think the donut suburbs of Melbourne, and follow the highways out. You can literally see the lines where the major transportation groups are, and that's where you can see the people that are the commuting suburbs. You then get the tree change and the sea change suburbs. So people, I'll cash up, I'm in country, I'll move up North Queensland, Southern Queensland. You get up there, it's not all that rosy, and then you start to fall over again. So you start to get those sorts of patterns. The next bit is sort of looking at price trends, and I'm not going to tell you anything in particular, and don't obsess about the detail. And I'm really bad at putting slides up like that in a room like this, but I did it anyway. You'll see there's a bit of a drop across the board around 1995. 2005, 95 showing my age. 2015, I should say. And that's when the Australian Energy Regulator cut the poles and wires. And you'll see the last kick up of everywhere but Tassie, Northern Territory and WA. That's because of Hazelwood shutting down, Northern Power Plant in South Australia, and a lot of the coal plant exiting. The costs went up because you still got to keep the lights on, because I want a job and we all probably want one because it powers the economy. That's gas prices coming in, because gas is the replacement fuel. So you've got this transition. The next bit is, these are gas prices across Australia. Now the bottom line there is Victoria. Oh, that looks pretty good. That's nice and low. And we're so lucky, 80% of households here do use gas, so it's big volume. So they're making their money on volume, not on the margins in the volume, not just margin on a small number. But we use more than twice as much, so you put that up. So the story here in Victoria, not only do we have the second highest electricity costs on average, and remember that word, when you add the gas load in there, we've actually got the most expensive fuel costs in the national energy market. So we've got more choice, so when we get disconnected, it might only be electricity, we get to keep the gas. So people are making those decisions. Now the other thing about the gas stuff is the reason why the gas prices are so high. We're funding the decarbonisation of the rest of the world. So when all the nukes fell over in Japan because of the tsunami, they didn't fire up their nukes. They poured on a whole lot of gas plant, contracted gas from Australia. So we're actually decarbonising elsewhere, but that's resulted in price increases here. So and decarbonising, we all benefit from that no matter where it happens. So you've got this sort of not only within Australia transfers, you've got international transfers here, but we're all living our lived experience, and that's playing out in the voting that's going on and the policy and the dog whistling that politicians are doing to certain interests. Now, yet this is really cluttered, but I will paint the picture. This is a cost stack. This is what your energy bill is doing and what it's made up. So in Victoria, if you haven't moved around in the market, haven't switched and you haven't done anything, you're paying the most expensive price, about $2,000, $2,000, $2,500, wherever you are. Of that, GST is $200, and we all benefit. That's tax revenue. We need that for schools and education, so that's good. The poles and wires part's about $500. That's to get the stuff to you. The wholesale is about $500. That's, making the turbines and getting all that go. The green schemes, which we all benefit from, so we all benefit from the paying of those. It's about $100, so good on you. And the retail component is about $650. And you think, well, that's a lot. It is a lot. But the markets do what markets do. Now, if you shop around a little bit like me, you sort of do okay. So my costs are different. I'm paying $50 less GST. So my contribution in the tax system's down a bit. I'm still paying about $500 for the poles and wires because that's a fixed cost in the system. I'm paying $400 less for wholesale. So I'm getting cheaper generated electricity. I'm paying the same for the green scheme, so I'm doing my fair share. And I'm paying about $300 less for retail. So there's this big retail margin that's in there. I'm a solar house. I'm doing really well. So the solar story is I'm paying under $100 GST, so I'm not contributing to consolidated revenue by half compared to the people that aren't shopping around. I'm paying $100 less in poles and wires, and the reason for that is a lot of the consumption is charged, a lot of the revenue is recouped on the kilowatts consumed. I'm not consuming many, I'm consuming my own. So that's why there's this push to crank up fixed charges to get revenue off me that I'm not paying, because that cost is being allocated to the other two groups. So all of a sudden, I'm actually the new Uber of energy, or I'm Airbnb in the hotels. I'm paying $200 less wholesale because I've got my own generator, so that's good. But I'm paying less than half of everybody else on the green schemes. I'm also netting out of them because of the way they're designed, but I benefit from them. So I'm not actually doing the heavy lifting for decarbonising. Somebody else, and these are all fixed costs, so the fixed costs go up to the other people. And finally, I'm paying minus retail. And there is a cost. I'm really heavy duty for retailers. They've got to send me lots of bills. I complain a lot. I've got in-home displays and portals. So I'm very costly. But I'm not paying any retail charge because of the way the government policies have given me a privilege. So all the government policies to promote these schemes, which are well intent, the design of them has actually created this wedge between groups of people. And you can see it play out in Victoria in the politics of it all. Oh, Batman and Northcote, we've got to give them more green stuff, because what they call them, the turquoise, the teal greens, I think they are. But then they've got the problem about, well, what about all the people that are out in Werribee that don't have this? And so what are we going to do for them? And you can't deal with them without resulting in an increase for me. So you've got this wicked problem. Fundamentally, also within this is a temporal dimension. I actually built all my wealth on carbon. I'm really lucky. I've got an inner-city house that I bought a long time ago when housing was affordable. I'm now not, and my wealth is carbon-based. It's all locked up. And I'm stepping out, moving forward, of paying my contribution to decarbonising and protecting my wealth at the same time, which means all the heavy lifting is being done by tenants, because they can't stick solar on their roof. They actually haven't got a house to add capital value to as well. So you've got these wicked problems playing through in here, and how do you unpick it? Because if you start to do things like, oh, we'll whack a basic service offering, well, they're not going to do that, because either you break the system and we stop decarbonising, because we've got to get the investment, somebody's got to pay, or you start to put up the prices for people like me. And then people like me will say, well, hang on, that's not fair. Why should I pay more? I might go off-grid. Once I start to go off-grid, all those sunk costs, which we need to keep there to have jobs to go to, then get shared amongst fewer and fewer and fewer people. So over time, we're going to collapse, and I call it the Trump effect, and it plays out in the politics that you see in the energy market. We can't agree on a national energy guarantee, or we need more renewable energy targets, or we don't need them, and then it comes down to who pays. And every solar panel that goes on actually reallocates the costs around the place. So hopefully that was in 10 minutes, and I painted a good picture, and there you go. And there's some links to all the reports, and you can choose your own journey.
Thank you, Gavin. Now, we're not going to let go of Gavin, but let's thank him.